So thank you for coming today. And so what I'm talking about today is sustaining hope when it's hard to keep hoping. And I covered this topic in my blog on Wednesday, and then I started thinking about it that I would like to expand it more today, so that I could just say more than I said in the blog. So I know it's a big topic, continuing to have hope when things are so difficult or stresses have gone on so long or things that I certainly don't know about. It's really common for people to struggle, to be hopeful. So I'm really glad you're here. Please say hello as you join me if you'd like. And whether you're watching live with me right now or whether you're watching later, I'd love it if you said hello. Well, I have to tell you that I'm not actually big on hope. So you're probably thinking like, what? What are you saying? I'm watching to get some hope. And actually, I have a sign on my porch, a lit sign that says hope year round. So it's like, so how do we put that together? Like, how do we put together me saying I'm not big on hope? Well, at the same time, I have a hope sign on my porch year round with lights for the season. So you might be thinking, well, wait a minute. Wait, what? How can she say that? Like, I'm tuning in to get some kind of encouragement and hope. So this is what I'm going to help you understand. So there's some things I am big on hope about, but there's things I'm not. So I'm not big on attaching hope to, I'm going to give you a list, okay? Outcomes that I cannot control. People that I can't influence or change. I'm not big on hope about situations in the world that are too big for me. I'm not big on hope planning on things to change or be different or get better or not be the way they are. So I don't mean that I don't hope things would get better, but I don't hope and plan that things will get better, especially if I'm ignoring how they actually are. It's important to be in reality, even though that's hard sometimes. Like, I don't hope with denial, I think that's what I'm actually trying to say. So I don't want to lose you because it actually gets better, so hang in there with me. And hi, Bonnie. It's good to see you. I'm glad that you're able to join. You said that's your first time to be able to be on here live, so that's very cool. So here's the thing. I am big on attaching hope to God, to His master plan, even though I know that I will not understand it until heaven. And so I wanted to let you know that I learned a lot about this whole idea of hoping in God despite circumstances. I learned about this from a very good friend of mine, Joan Buzzard. So I actually have a picture of her and I together. So I'm going to hold it up so you can see. So this is Joan and I a little more, about 3 years ago, actually, a little more than 3 years ago. And Joan and I were friends for almost 30 years until she passed away from breast cancer about 3 years ago, just a little bit more than 3 years ago. And she fought that cancer in every way that she could. And she was like so heroic. I mean, she was amazing. And she often talked about having hope. And so that was confusing to me. Like, how can you have hope when clearly the cancer is spreading, it's getting worse? And so one time I just couldn't understand it, actually. So one time I asked her about it, and I said, how can you have hope in these circumstances? And she said, of course, she did hope that the chemo and the radiation would help. But her real hope was in God. Her hope was that when she was she hoped that what she was going through would cause her to grow, become a deeper and mature person. She also hoped that she wanted to focus on things that really mattered to her with the time she had left. She was in reality about what was going on. She wanted to spend time with family and friends and create memories and have an influence in their lives. And she also hoped that she would draw closer to God through the process. She hoped that the people in her life, her friends and family, would draw closer to Him, and also that they would draw closer to one another. That was a great hope of hers. And so she had hope in that, but she didn't have any control over what anyone else did, right? But she did have control over what she did, and I was just so stunned and amazed by her faith and her perspective. And what she shared makes so much sense to me. And it's actually helped me go through so much as I've gone through breast cancer myself, as well as pulmonary fibrosis, which is a terminal illness that I have. It's a lung disease that I developed amazingly, crazily, from chemotherapy and radiation for breast cancer. So she really taught me so much as I watched her handle an impossible situation. She was so brave and courageous and so loving. And she had reality in mind. I mean, she was not in denial about what was going on. And at the same time, she just wanted to use the time she had the very best, but she just clung to God, and she knew that He had not forsaken her. She knew that He was right there with her, and she was just, what an amazing woman, and what an amazing friend. So I learned a lot about kind of my stance on hope, which is I absolutely hope in the Lord. I mean, He loves me, and He's taking care of me. But at the same time, I'm not placing my hope in getting a lung transplant in time. My hope is in Him and His purposes for my life, however long that is. And I want to, just like Joan, I want to continue to mature and grow, and help others the best that I can for as long as I can. So I felt like Joan really, I mean, I didn't know it at the time that she was going through this. I didn't know that she was actually showing me a path that I was going to be walking, although a little differently. And I'm so grateful to her for that, for her friendship and for the example she gave me of real hope, okay? Not fake hope, not denial hope, not hoping in things that are not wise to hope in, but to hope in God and to draw close to Him. So because of Joan and her example in my life, there is a peace that passes understanding for me. Because believe it or not, even though it sounds so awful, my job is actually simple. Because my perspective is that I work on taking care of myself the best that I can. I try to draw close to Him and stay sensitive to what He has for me. I try to love those in my life well, and I just have to leave the outcome to Him. Now, in case you think that I am superhuman, I am so not superhuman, okay? I go through days of sadness and distress just like anyone. I mean, I've had a few of those lately, and I go up and down, and I have normal emotions and tears and confusion and anger, and I have all of that. But in the midst of that, so far, and I say so far because, like, you know, this is what I can talk to you about now, but I've been able to come back to my hope in Him after processing the emotions. And I think for me that's been a key, is that I try really hard to just process whatever the emotions are that I'm going through, so I don't get stuck in them, so I don't get dragged down by them. And then as I process through and kind of come back up again, I'm able to, I hang on to Him, I cling to Him, and He helps me. And so for me, really processing the emotion and actually embracing reality and then trying to deal with it is super helpful to me, because it actually gives me a place to go. It gives me things to focus on that are important and valuable. It helps me not get stuck in the trenches. And honestly, I feel released from worrying and planning and maneuvering and obsessing about things changing over which I have no control. I don't have any control over what happens. I mean, I have control over taking care of myself, but I'm a pretty influential and creative person. But like, I got nothing I can do about this. Like, whether I would get a lung transplant, whether it would happen. I have a particularly difficult situation in that, because I've had cancer. I had breast cancer. You have to go 5 years before they even put you on the list. I've gone 3. I'm cancer-free, so that's good. But I can't outmaneuver these people. I just have to take care of myself and trust God and see what He has for me. I don't know what that is. So So I really focus my hope and my confidence in him. He created this whole world. He created my life. And I know he's not forsaking me and will not forsake me, even though my future is super different from what I want. So I wanted to read some verses to you, and then I wanted to share some more things with you to think about. All right, so these are some encouraging verses that encourage me about hope, okay? So I'm just going to read them, and I'll tell you what they are after I read them. Okay. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And that's Philippians 4:7. And we need him to guard our hearts and our minds. Because when we're going through something so difficult, the reason you tuned in about finding out about sustaining hope is because you're going through some things. You have gone through them. You're still going through them. You're going to go through them. And we need him to guard our hearts and minds to not go crazy and out of control and everything else that happens, okay? The next one, it's Psalm 62:8, and it says, trust in him at all times, O people. Pour out your hearts to him, for God is our refuge. And I love that verse because to me, I picture myself just snuggling into God, pouring my heart out to him and him being my refuge. That's a super big one. Another one is, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, talking about enemies. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And that's Deuteronomy 31:6. And the next one is, be merciful to me, O God, be merciful to me. For my soul trusts in you and in the shadow of your wings. I will make my refuge until these calamities have passed by. Again, God being our refuge. That's Psalm 57:1. And the next one is, be strong and let your heart take courage, all you who hope in the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage, all you who hope in the Lord. That's Psalm 31:24. The next verse that I love is, why are you in despair, O my soul? And why have you become disturbed within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him for the help of his presence. And that's Psalm 42:5. See, I love that because it's like his presence, as you hope in him, as I hope in him and cling to him, his presence brings me what I need. It calms my heart. It brings me assurances I don't feel alone. His presence is powerful. And the next verse is, let me hear your loving kindness in the morning, for I trust in you. Teach me the way in which I should walk, for to you I lift up my soul. And that's Psalm 143:8. And I really feel like I'm learning this one. I'm not going to say I learned it. I haven't learned it, but I'm learning it. Of just every step, just clinging to him and relying on him, seeing where he leads me, what he has for me, because things are different than I thought. And at the same time, I'm having an influence and the ability to get to reach people in ways I never thought to. There's difficulties, but there's blessings. So I don't know what you're facing or if you've lost hope. We're all going through difficult times and dealing with things being different than how we thought, probably actually in lots of areas. And while your situation, I'm sure, is different than mine, I know that we face the same challenges to trust God, to take care of ourselves, to love others in our lives, and to keep going. So even if you've lost hope, you can get it back. Did you know that? It's not like shameful if you've lost hope. It's okay. You can get it back. You might have lost it a bit at a time or with a huge or ongoing tragedy. Losing hope happens, and it makes sense when we've gone through such difficult times. And you can get it back. So I was thinking about that, and so I was thinking, you can talk to God. You know, maybe talk to him and say things like, I mean, your words are going to be different, but this is just giving you an example. Like, I'm not sure if I lost hope a bit at a time or all at once, and I need you. Help me see the reality that is going on in my life, and if I need to do something about it. Help me draw close to you. Help me take care of myself, and please give me the wisdom to know if there's something I should do. And do, by the way, do just could mean like even resting in him. I don't mean like go out and conquer the world, okay? But we need wisdom. Help me get my hope back a little bit at a time. Help me hope in you and let go of the hope that I attach to people or situations that I cannot control. And that is a big one. I mean, to me, that's where it's easy to get off track, is when we place our hope in other people's actions and other people understanding us, other people changing. Like, that is just not a good place to put hope, okay? Like, I would call that wishing. Like, I think wishing is fine, okay? You know, we can wish for things. We can say, gosh, I wish this was differently. I wish this person would be this way. I wish that I didn't have this illness, right? I wish that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Wishing is great, okay? But to place your hope, which means your heart, your well-being, your future, I mean, that's not a good place to put hope, okay? But putting our hope in God is a very good place, and a hope that He has the bigger picture. He has a plan for us. He's with us in it every step of the way, even like it doesn't seem like it. So when I was thinking about this, I was also thinking about when I used to do counseling in my office. So I was a counselor, a marriage and family therapist for 30 years. I had the most wonderful office and partners, and I loved being a therapist. And when I was counseling clients in my office, as a person was talking and they were sharing about the difficulty that they were going through, I mean, like big things, I would just see, because I wasn't in the middle of it, I would see a hope and a future for them that they couldn't see. Or I would see the progress that they were making. Or I would see a strength in them that they couldn't see. Whatever it was, I was able to, see, because I wasn't in the middle of it. And so I would often say, I tell them this, what I would see in them. And I would tell them that I had hope for them. And what I would, one day it just kind of popped out. I said, you know what, you can borrow some of my hope. And amazingly, it made a difference for people. It was like, oh, she can see something I can't see. She has hope. And so borrowing some of my hope would often be really helpful. So that's what I'm saying to you today, all right? Maybe you can't see a brighter future or a way out or a way forward or something being different. So you can borrow some of my hope and draw near to God. Take care of yourself. Be wise and in reality about what is actually going on. Seek counseling and help if you need it. We're not meant to do this by ourselves. And so I encourage you to be kind and compassionate with yourself. Because here's the deal. That is something you can control. There's probably a lot going on in your life you cannot control, but being kind and compassionate to yourself, turning toward God, it's something you can control. And I encourage you to do that, whatever it is you're going through. So I just am sending you blessings and hope and love. And I would love to know if you want to share. If you don't want to share, don't share. But if you'd like to share, I'd love to know what touched you today. Like what words made sense to you, or what concept like got in that didn't get in before. Because that's my whole purpose of doing this, is to reach out and help from my back bedroom. Somebody asked me once if I had a studio. I'm like, no, there's no studio. I'm in my back bedroom with some fairly good lighting. So I'd just love to know what touched you today, what maybe made a difference. And if you feel like this would be helpful to other people, please share it on your Facebook page, or just share it with somebody personally who needs hope today. So thanks for joining me, and I will be back again in 2 weeks for another Facebook Live. And I wanted to let you know, if like I said earlier, I actually started this topic on my blog on Wednesday. And then as I thought about it, I thought, oh, I want to talk more about it on Facebook Live. So if you don't get my weekly blog posts, they come right to your email. You can subscribe just by going to my website, kimfredrickson.com. I'll put it in the notes somewhere. And there's a little box to the side there that you can subscribe. And it'll be fun to have you as part of the community. People are just wonderful about commenting, and oftentimes someone will share something and I think, wow, that was so good. And I know that their comments actually help everybody else. So I would love you to be part of that community. And I just wish you the best. I encourage you to keep hoping, but hope in the right things, okay? Don't hope in the things that you can't control. Hope in Him, and hope in the future that He has for you, even if you cannot see it now. So I'm so happy to be with you. I hope you have a nice weekend. And I will be back in 2 weeks for another Facebook Live. All right, take care. Bye.